time here this morning, and so welcome. We're so happy that each of you are here. We know that it's early, we know that it's a Friday, and so we want to let you know that this webinar is for educational purposes only. And so please consult with an attorney or an HR professional for any additional guidance or anything else that may come up as it relates to this training. I know some of you are on here because you're excited to hear our big announcement. We're excited to share it with you, but we want to go on ahead and get started first and foremost with our training. Let me just take care of some housekeeping as individuals are joining us. Of You probably saw we're going to be recording today's session. Because of this, we are going to ask that you stay muted. We are going to leave time at the end for question and answers. But if there is something pressing on your mind, don't hesitate to put that information in the chat, because of course we want to hear your questions and provide you some answers. For those that are just joining us, we're going to ask if you just put your contact information in the chat, your name, your company's name, and then also your contact information, because you just never know who needs your services. The next slide that we have is just going to highlight some upcoming events, maybe just kind of save the dates on your calendar. We are going to have another free webinar on October 13th. That's going to be from 8:30 to 10 a.m. It's going to be a little bit longer, but we're going to have an HR attorney along with an HR consultant to just address some hot button issues as it pertains to human resource issues. And then we will have our annual 2024 Strategic Mastermind December 1st. That's to gear you up from a strategy perspective for the upcoming year. Yes, 2024 is right around the corner.
And I will say on October 13th, we're also going to have a former IRS agent that will be on to really talk about if you're thinking about expanding your team further. Do you do 1099? Do you do W-2? We're going to talk through all of that. There's been a lot of changes. If you're here in Florida, you have 25 employees or more, E-Verify. There's a lot of things that have come from the Department of Labor as well. And so we just want to empower you with our guest speakers that day. So I'm really excited about October 13th.
So let's kind of share what our mission is today. This is our agenda, and we're going to start by talking through what the problem is, what we are seeing and hearing from the business owners that we consult with regarding the problem. We're going to review 5 types of difficult employees. We know this is not all encompassing, but it kind of does give a high level overview of some very similar themes across workplaces. Then, of course, we're going to offer you some solutions and wrap up. We are going to, in a little bit later, learn probably one of the most dangerous words to say during a conversation. Rosalind is going to kind of share a little bit about
what could that word be?
I know when you put this in our script and in our notes, I was just like, what is the word? So she's going to talk through that. I am going to start with talking about the problem. I want to lay the groundwork of why we are here and what we're going to attack this morning. One thing I want you all to know, that workplace conflict is inevitable. It is going to happen. In fact, in accordance to some recent statistics that we saw, American employees spend about 2.8 hours each week in conflict. And this equates to 2.5 weeks every year of time that is spent on conflict versus what could be spent on collaboration and customer service. And so there is a cost to conflict, and we know that it's inevitable. In addition to that, 60% of employees say they've never received basic conflict management training. Think about what maybe you've offered to your employees, your 1099s. Have you had anything regarding conflict management? So let's talk about that impact. If you haven't, what is the impact of conflict, which we've kind of laid out is inevitable? According to the American Institute of Stress, American workers are among the most stressed in the world. And one thing that we know is that conflict deteriorates the culture of any organization. And so before you know it, it's going to seep into your customer service experiences with your clients, with your customers. And this stress that our employees are feeling results in them being low sleep, difficulty sleeping, employee turnover, physical pain, neck pain, back pain. They're not as productive, so there's lower productivity. They're absent. They're calling out sick. Workers' compensation awards, especially if they're operating machinery, increased medical, legal, and insurance costs. All of these are the results of stress, of conflict. The same study shows that poor communication and management practices are risk factors for poor mental health amongst our employees. So that negative impact, that negative influence of just one difficult employee or customer can permeate your entire team. And you probably have seen it. It saps morale, it saps enthusiasm in the workplace. And if you don't swiftly address issues, this little spark of negativity, before you know it, it is going to grow into a wildfire. So we want to help you extinguish the spark so that it doesn't grow into this massive wildfire. So Rosin and I are motivated to bring you this webinar simply because of the pattern of complaints we are hearing as consultants from business owners regarding difficult employees. And we want to empower you to cultivate workplaces that thrive and motivate others. Because as I said, disagreements and conflict, they're inevitable. It's going to happen. When you bring different individuals with unique backgrounds, different experiences, different personalities, different emotions, this is going to happen. So what we want to do is detail 5 difficult type of people that you may be seeing. Maybe they're your customers, maybe they are your employees, and you're going to see these people show up as even family members, friends, volunteers. There's no escaping it. Okay, especially with what we have going on in 2023. And so, again, as leaders, we want to extinguish it while it is just a spark so that it doesn't grow to that wildfire. All right. So, I'm going to now share who we are. We are DPI, and we are a business consulting firm that provides leaders the power to accelerate success in their business. You're not seeing double. We are identical twins. We both graduated from the University of Florida, and we are bananas about your business. We want to focus on solutions to help you quickly communicate, motivate, and confront difficult employees in this webinar so that you don't have negative ripple effects. So Rosin is going to now share the 5 different types of difficult employees.
Yes. So when we think about that difficult employee, and I want to, yesterday, as Renee and I were working through this, sometimes it can be even ourselves that will show up as a difficult person within our own organizations, our own social networks. So these are the 5 different types of difficult people. Again, it's not going to address every issue that you see as difficult, but this is just a broad generalization of the 5 types that we want to focus on for this morning. So you have the information hoarder, you have the chronic complainer, the passive aggressive communicator, the perfectionist. And it's interesting because you might think, how can a perfectionist be difficult? But we're going to talk about that. And then just the full-on workplace bully. So let's start first with the information hoarder. I believe in 2023, this is one of the most largest threats to have within your organization. The information hoarder is the employee that prefers, this is their preference, to withhold vital information from their colleagues, even the business owner, fearing that sharing that information might put their job in jeopardy. This is someone who holds on to the information because they're afraid that it gives them more power within the organization if they do not share. So, for example, if you have a marketing department, or because I know some on here are business owners, some are in the workplace. And Renee, if you can let others in while I'm talking, that will be helpful.
Okay, Rosalind, you got to make me host because I'm not, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
or co-host.
Okay. I will do that. You should have done that from the beginning, huh, Renee?
Yep. It's all good.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. So this person, so imagine that there's somebody in a certain department within your organization, and they're refusing to share the information about a successful campaign strategy. What's going to happen is they are going to stall the progress of the entire project, which will start to impact the customer service experience. This person that is the information hoarder shows up sometimes as your right-hand person. This might be the person that is closest to your customers or clients, because if you're operating in a true kind of CEO role, this might be the person that's the COO. They're kind of managing all of the different departments, the customer, the business development, and they might be holding on to information which makes them very powerful within your organization, and then might manipulate you to get that information back, which when Renee and I were in Dallas earlier this year, they talked about, man, we have these type of people when we were doing a workshop in our organization. So we want you to be aware that the information hoarder, the right-hand person, sometimes can be one of the most difficult in your organization. The next one is the chronic complainer. And this is the employee or the person. Listen, these concepts are not just for the workplace, right? This can be your family, your friends, your social networks. But this is the person that's just going to show up with a complaint. They create a negative atmosphere within the team. They're constantly criticizing new products and new projects without offering any type of constructive feedback. They're dampening the team morale. And this person will just kind of seek to sabotage any innovative ideas. So you come and you roll out this new vision that you have for the company, and they're just going to pick it apart. And here's the thing, they are not offering resolutions. They only want to define the complaints with what they're able to see. I have had this person that has reported to me, this type of person, and one-to-one, they are constantly giving complaints, but you put them in a group setting sometimes, and then they have nothing to say when you're asking for open feedback. So that's the chronic complainer. Now, this is the passive aggressive, and this is the type of person that will express their discontent indirectly. Most of the times, this is the type of person who will have all type of misunderstandings, unresolved conflicts, and they're going to remain silent. They're going to use their body language to let you know that they don't agree with what you're saying. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to articulate it, but 93% of what we communicate is nonverbal. They're rolling their eyes, they're crossing their hands, they're going to remain silent, they're not going to express their ideas, and it's all bubbling underneath. There is such a disconnect with the passive aggressive communicator between what a person is exhibiting and what he or she is actually doing. So think about if you have a sales rep and they show this subtle resistance, you've kind of rolled out this new sales process, and they have this just very slight, subtle resistance. It's going to make it challenging for that person to collaborate and be cooperative because they're just kind of like this. And I would ask, like, if you have come in contact or interact with some of these people, just put a big yes in the chat. Like, let's just not feel that we're alone. Just kind of put your big yes, I have. This has shown up in my organization, in my social network, the passive aggressive. The next one is the perfectionist. And again, you might think, how can a perfectionist actually be A difficult person. Let me tell you, this is the type of person that they set excessively high standards for themselves and for others. But this is the person that might be your star, right? Like we all have that person that's just a superstar in our eyes. I know we don't want to say it, we don't want to admit to it, but there is just that superstar that we have in our eyes. They just are on it and we love them so much, but that person might be on a fast track to burnout. And maybe that person is you. Maybe you're the perfectionist, and maybe you're the one that is on that fast track to burnout, setting unrealistic expectations. I want you to think about the person who is just too far in the weeds on projects. They're obsessing over the minutia details. It is slowing the progress of a project, the team collaboration. It just can become toxic really quickly, even though they're the perfectionist. They're showing up as the ambitious one. When we think about burnout, how does that show up? Feelings of just being completely depleted and exhausted. I know there are times when Renee and I are talking and Renee will say, I have no desire to work today. And I'll tell her, that is the sign of burnout. And she will just shut it down for the rest of the day because she understands and is aware what that means for her. This burnout will look like just kind of mental distance from one's job. You've heard the term quiet quitting. That could very well be someone who is on burnout and their professional efficacy is reduced. They're just not effective as they can be because of their high expectations. 52% of employees right now are dealing with burnout, and I bet that number is even higher for those that owns businesses. So I want you to be aware of your own timelines, your own deliverables that you're providing to clients as you're making out your schedules. And if you have a booking system, really give yourself time to come down in between each of those sessions that you might have. Now, the next and final difficult person is the workplace bully. This is the overt, in your face type of individual. A person really just engages in aggressive and intimidating behavior. They're going to belittle those that they are talking to. They're condescending. It's all really rooted in fear and insecurity, but it's causing just angst amongst your team, and it creates a very toxic work environment. Now, you might think, how does that person just continue to be in an organization? Many times this is a very high performer. And so you might turn the blind eye. I have seen this in my years of managing people because they just get it done. They are your sales leader. But let me tell you, it creates a toxic culture. With all of the 5 that we've talked about, whether it is the passive aggressive or the information hoarder or the chronic complainer or the perfectionist or the workplace bully, now that you're aware of how these people show up, the moment that you feel a hint of any negative behavior, you want to address it. You want to make sure that you are establishing clear expectations and guidelines. And we're talking about employee handbooks. We're having another webinar on October 13th. One of our guest speakers is actually on with us today, Lisa, and she's an HR consultant. But you need to have these things in place. And as you talk about your policies and your procedures, it's not a one and done. Just because someone has signed in an employee handbook and they have it in a binder somewhere, you have to constantly keep it in front of them. Whenever you start to see anything that just feels not right for your organization in regards to behavior, address it privately, but also address it respectfully. And we'll talk a little bit later about that, because that behavior is going to impact your culture. Once you address it and you document it, you want to make sure that you assume positive intent moving forward. Don't just think that person is always going to just be kind of the bad apple. Assume positive intent. Offer support and resources if you think there's something that might be going on personally that is just causing them to be distracted and affecting their performance at work. But be firm and swift when you need to implement consequences for repeated violations. Maybe it's they're constantly, coming in late, excessive tardiness. You want to be firm because it'll just show, if you don't address it, that you are tolerating that type of behavior. Renee,
Right.
give
Yeah,
us some
Ross.
solutions.
Yes,
Please.
yes. And I also want to say, if you don't have an employee handbook, if you have employees and you don't have an employee handbook, which can be intimidating, then definitely join us on October the 13th, because we're going to just provide some good tips. But you definitely want that, because if you're ever challenged from a legal perspective, you got to have that in place, that you did create or foster a culture, and that it's in writing. So let's talk through some solutions for each one of these type of difficult employees. First off, let's understand that we are all biased. And when I say that word, it's not a dirty word. It just means that we have preferences. Rosalind and I are identical twins, but we still are biased, right? We still have our own preferences. She likes Dunkin' Donuts. I like Starbucks. She likes vanilla ice cream. I like chocolate. It is We're all biased in our beliefs. We do come together though in knowing we both like the Florida Gators, but we're all biased in our beliefs. Most of us think the opinions we hold are correct, and that includes the people we are talking to. This is a quote from Lynn Hurdle, who is a conflict resolution expert. So just imagine the possibility that you're wrong, right? Can you just imagine that? Sometimes we're just gonna be flat out wrong. So don't set a goal to win in difficult conversations. If you're taking notes, that's one that I would write down. Don't set a goal to win in a difficult conversation. You want to seek to understand someone's belief, you want to understand their position, because the objective might just be to work towards a mutual understanding. You know the saying, agree to disagree. All right. So let's talk about the information hoarder. Rosin laid out really well what that person is. If you have an information hoarder, and I would imagine many of us do, that right-hand person, the one who has probably more information than you want to encourage a culture of collaboration and knowledge sharing. You also want to emphasize the benefits of teamwork. A lot of times these individuals are really struggling with, do I have job security? If I give up everything, do I know, is my job secure? So you want to incentivize sharing, you want to reward cooperation. And through transparent communication, you want to just help to alleviate any concerns that they have around job security. Become aware of who are the power players in your organization, because they are there, as well as your leadership teams. And just because you are the business owner doesn't mean you hold all the power. I
Yeah.
think pretty much a lot of us know that we're in and out. We're doing so much from a high level perspective and casting vision. It's the ones that are the day-to-day interactions with customers that really are the ones that are the feet and arms and legs of your organization. So, what you want to do in this situation is document your processes. And when I say that,
Mm.
that I don't want you to be overcome, like, oh my gosh, I have so many things. Jump on a Zoom, record yourself, and that's a way to document your processes, right? How are you onboarding a customer? I think about Ida, who's an esthetician. Individuals come and walk into her doors. If she's training someone new, maybe there's some way that they need to put them in the system. They need to capture information. They need to have them fill out a form, or whatever the case may be. Document that process. Make a quick 30-second, 1-minute video, so that when you hire someone, They are able to watch that video, and before you know it, you've got a catalog of information that you are able to share with a new employee, and you don't have one person hogging all of that information. You also don't have your employees coming to you over and over and over again asking you the same questions. You can just say, hey, look at this video. It walks you through step by step. Share your screen, show them how to do it, and document that process. Now let's talk about the chronic.
I just want to
Mhm.
insert. I want to make sure that every right-hand person is not going to be an information hoarder, but I do want you to be highly aware and sensitive to who is really holding information within your organization. Yeah.
Thank you, Rosin. So the chronic complainer, um, acknowledge their frustrations, acknowledge their concerns, but also set boundaries, right? For expressing negativity. You want to encourage the open feedback sessions, and you also want to provide them opportunities for them to contribute constructively. You want to also have one-to-one touch base meetings with these employees. It's extremely vital.
Mhm.
I can't express this enough. If you are leading people, you need to be having one-on-one conversations with your individuals on a regular basis. I don't know what that cadence is. Maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a quarter, but you definitely want to have those one-to-one conversations with your employees. When you're meeting with the chronic complainer, make them aware of how their tone within the company carries weight. Because if you have new employees and you've partnered your new employees with a chronic complainer, they may just start to model that same behavior. So have that conversation with them when you're meeting with your employees one to one. Now, the passive aggressive. Oh my goodness, how many times have we seen this person? You're excited about something that you're sharing as a leader, and they roll in their eyes, their arms are crossed. What I want you to do is just stay calm.
Mhm.
In those moments, do not lead through your emotions. Okay. You want to foster open and honest communication with the passive aggressive. You want to encourage your employees to express their opinions directly and constructively. Promoting a culture where there's transparency, where there's openness, and where there's understanding is extremely important. And how we model that as leaders is be open and transparent to say when you've messed up. You know what, team? I really made the wrong decision and I want to apologize. You
Mhm.
want to be quick to apologize because when you start to model that, your team will then reflect that. You then foster a culture where you have open and honest communication. Allow silence with the passive aggressive individual because silence is going to be a great tool for providing a safe space. Silence also allows time for them to self reflect during a conversation. Pay attention to their body language. And you know what? Call it out. If
Mhm.
you're sitting in the meeting, you may want to say, hey, it looks like you want to say something. What's on your mind? Call them out on that so that they know that what they are, the rolling of the eyes, the closeness of their body, you want to make them aware that you see them. Um, if you see them beginning to be disengaged in a meeting, ask for their thoughts. Hey, Becky, it sounds, you haven't said anything. What's your thoughts on this idea? Okay. Because this will make them aware that you see their behavior. Okay. Now, let's talk about the perfectionist. You want to help the employee understand the importance of balance. I'm not going to even say work-life balance, but I'm just going to say balance and setting realistic goals. Maybe you want to incorporate into your employee handbook one day for just they can take off for whatever, not a sick day or anything of that nature, but it may just be permission morale. We used to have that when I was working on the operations side at State Farm. It was a permission morale day. It was just a day that you could take for no other reason to just clear your head. You want to provide the perfectionist with project timelines. If you see them taking on too much, coach them that they need to delegate those responsibilities. Assure them that failure is a part of anybody's journey. You may even want to share with them a time when you failed at something that you were doing in the workplace. Just really affirm them that it is okay to fail. You want to celebrate accomplishments, of course, but you also want to emphasize continuous improvement rather than seeking perfection. Realize that there is progress over perfection. Okay, because we don't want these individuals to be on a fast track to burnout. Remember, we want to catch it and extinguish it while it is a spark because we don't want that wildfire. We also want your high performers to stay in your business. Okay, so this is a way to deal with them. All
Yes.
right, the
Yes.
workplace bully. I've had a workplace bully. Um, you got to be firm with these individuals.
Yes.
When we talk about a spark leading to a wildfire, oh my goodness, it can go from 0 to 100 really quickly with a workplace bully. No matter how well they are performing, you have to address very firmly and immediately the workplace bully. You want to conduct thorough investigations and take appropriate disciplinary action, and it may mean termination. You want to implement anti-bullying policies. I would absolutely highly suggest, and I'm sure that Lisa might as well, you need to have an anti-bullying policy in your employee handbook. If you don't have that, you want to implement that in your handbook. Because if someone alleges that they are in a hostile work environment, you want to be able to document and show that that is not the culture that you are embracing and nurturing in your workplace. If you have a bully in your workplace, you want to document behaviors and conversations. Do not, I stress, don't overlook their behavior, even if they are a high performer, because as a leader, you and only you can protect the integrity of your culture. I know we've had some comments. Keisha, you said, I think that understanding that all of us cycle through these characters, absolutely, but knowing that we've got to regroup and understand, very, very good point. Your workplace culture is the heart of your organizations, ladies and gentlemen. It
Yeah.
is your competitive advantage. Allowing difficult individuals to disrupt your culture sends a message that this behavior is tolerated, and potentially attracting more like-minded individuals and derailing your whole work environment. So I'm going to pause right now because
Yes.
there's been a lot of information that Rosin and I have shared, but we want to ask you, put in the chat, maybe you've had one of these 5 different types of behaviors. How did you handle them?
Or
What
we
were
can
some ways that,
actually, if you, it's a small group of us. If you
okay,
want to unmute and maybe just take a minute to just say any other suggestions that might have worked for you in the past in dealing with difficult people. And I see Lisa. Hey, Lisa. Yes, your hand is raised. Talk
So,
to us.
specifically to the workplace bully and really all of these, I think sometimes we avoid being very laser specific with what the behavior is, right? We say, your behavior is that, of bullying, and it's not, within our policy. But what was the behavior? Be very specific with what was done. Was it an aggressive tone? Was it something specifically said? So that heightens the awareness a little bit about what specifically the behavior is that's not acceptable. So I wanted to share that.
Oh,
oh,
thank you.
thanks. Thank you, Lisa. Keisha says, I'd had all of them in my last position and it caused me to burn out as a leader. Absolutely. It definitely,
Ditto.
it definitely will. Now, we have a free gift for you because we definitely want to empower you. And so Rosin is going to put the link to a resource that we have.
Yes, which I'm going to stop sharing so I can get the resource.
Okay, because we wanted to provide you different scripts to help you communicate effectively. So when you are dealing with these types of individuals, and if you have to have a conversation, we've given you kind of a script on how to start that conversation with those individuals.
Yes. So when we created this, it was with our business owners in mind, and we're going to send this also as an email when we send the link to replay this. But it's hard to communicate sometimes to individuals. It's hard to communicate when you need to change and go in a different direction. It's hard to communicate and sometimes address when there is toxic behavior that you're seeing. And I loved what Lisa said, like, make sure you specifically say what that behavior is. And so this tool is here for you to learn just some scripts. And also it's like owner or team leader and then employee. It lets you know different scenarios of what they might come back with. We want you to be empowered. So please use the tool. We've used this in the past and it is well received, but it is totally our free gift to you because it's just hard. It's hard communicating, motivating, and confronting difficult people within your organization. So use the tool. Was anyone, just let me know, were you able to pull that up? Did you click on it? Did anybody click on it?
Yeah, it pulled up for me. So hopefully,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
So
Okay.
hopefully it pulled up for everybody else. We understand that we're only tipping the iceberg this morning. You may have different other type of difficult individuals in your offices. Being a leader is rewarding and challenging. So now it's time for our big announcement, and I wish like you all could like beat a drum and we have a drum roll, but this is something that Rosalind and I have been working on since last year. And so we are happy to announce that we have built a digital course that takes a deeper dive into how to maximize our influence with others. And so we have developed a course. Remember, we talked about, have you trained on workplace interactions? Have you had an opportunity to discuss that with your individual employees? If you haven't, what we have put together is a blueprint on cultivating an honest and inclusive workplace. Okay. This online course, it has 5 modules. You're going to get a workbook. You're going to get time of reflection. It's video, it's text, it's resources, and all it is 1 hour a week. So it takes about 5 weeks. Today and only today, Rosin is going to pull up the QR code. You can open up the camera on your phone, scan this QR code, and you will receive a discount of 50%. This will not happen again. You're not going to see 50% discount. It's only good for 24 hours, but we wanted to offer it to you because we have heard you, business leaders, and we want to assist you. And so we hope that you will take advantage of this. Rosin is going to also link not only to the free resource, but to our sales page as well, because we want to help you work hard to preserve the morale of your team. We want you to avoid the steep cost of stressed out and difficult employees. And we want you to retain those talented individuals, because we all know how hard it is to bring on someone new, to recruit and bring on someone new. So now Rosin is going to share with us how to motivate and communicate.
Yes. So when you think about when you're having hard conversations, and we're going to soon open it up for our questions and answers, so get prepared with your questions. How do you communicate? How do you motivate someone who is just difficult. And again, this isn't everyone within your organization, but I spend a lot of time with business owners, and business owners will focus a lot on their sales strategies, their marketing strategies. But let me tell you something, the people strategy is so important, because the humans that are working for your organization are your competitive advantage. And whether you are leading a team or you are a business owner, they're your competitive advantage. They're going to be how you sustainably continue to grow and scale your business. And you might be thinking, I'm a solopreneur, like I don't have anyone on my team. Everyone has someone, as my girlfriend Michelle, who is on the call, says, is hugging your business. So whether it is your fractional CFO like Monica, whether it's your HR consultant like Lisa, whether it's your esthetician that is like Lorna or Ida, whoever it might be, someone, you know, you're interacting with humans, your perspectives, your clients, you're just interacting with humans. So how do you communicate? How do you motivate? Here's going to be some ways. Listen. And I know that might just seems like so easy to do. Like, I heard what they said. No, as a leader, I really want you listening. And I mean active listening. Listening more than usual when you're in those difficult conversations. I want you to listen non-judgmentally. I know that there have been things that have happened in the past, and provide context of the conversation that you're having. But really, as a leader, listen non-judgmentally to your conversation partner. Listen even when you do not agree. And what do I mean by that? I had someone walk in my office and says, hey, I feel like I'm failing at everything. Let me tell you something. I didn't agree with anything that person was saying, but it was their truth. I wasn't there to dispute their truth. Listen even when you don't agree, and really seek to understand what is the root cause of how they feel. I want you to focus on them. Really try not to be distracted. I think we all know what it's like when we're pouring out to someone and they're really not there. They're thinking about what's coming next, or they are looking at their cell phone, or their eyes shift away from you. Really focus on that person. This is what active listening is. Hear the other person's perspective and be willing to learn something new about the situation. When you're beginning a conversation, set your intention on listening, right? Let that person know that you are there to listen, but also invite them into your conversation. So if you're dealing with a person that is passive aggressive, right? I want you to pull them in with your eyes, your stature, your posture, and invite them into your conversation. And how you do this, it might be that you said, I really like to understand your point of view. Or you might say, what is your position? Because I really want to understand. It's an invitation that you are extending to them. Please clarify for me, what's your point of view? Or how did you arrive at that position? When you ask those type of questions, you're putting the ball in their court. Think about the constant complainer that never has a resolution, that only is defining a problem. When you ask, how did you arrive at this position? What is the source of your belief? You're getting underneath into that root cause. That's what active listening is. I want you also to restate their position. I think there's power in restating the last 3 words of what someone says. So if someone says to you, oh gosh, I don't really know how to do that. You don't know how to do that? They're going to give you more information, because as the person that is actively listening, you're looking for more and more clues that is going to provide you information that you can leverage further into the conversation. So restate their position, clarify what it is that they believe, or how you think that they are feeling based on what they're saying. Because when you are saying to that person that you're understanding, you're making that person feel seen, valued, heard, and respected within your organization. So you can simply say, let me restate what I heard you say. And they can help allow you to give more context, or say, no, that's not right, I meant this. Beware of your body language. Beware of your raised eyebrows, your folded arms. Beware of your distant glaze look in your eyes. because again, 93% of our communication is nonverbal. So what's your gesture? What's your posture? What's your tone? What's your volume? I know that when I'm talking to Renee and she gets passionate about something, man, her tone rises. So be aware of all of your nonverbal, even when you're silent. Silent is a very powerful expression that is used in conversation. So not only active listening, but strategic listening. We're here to empower you to be strategic as business leaders. So strategic listening is you're listening for the issues and the root cause, but also the facts of the situation. Listening for the feelings, and the feelings are going to be underneath the words. And there's a bit of a skill in that, but when you're listening for someone feeling, you start to understand, oh, this is rooted in their fear. This is rooted in insecurity. You start to get underneath the words that they are saying. Listen for their values, their morals, listen for their position. And sometimes that position is threatening. For instance, if you are documenting a behavior that is unbecoming of your organization, and they're like, I'm not signing this form. That's a very threatening position that they're having in a conversation. Okay. So there is a lot of strategic listening that is happening when you're trying to communicate and motivate someone who is being disrespectful. You know what? Respect the right. Give yourself permission to disagree with your conversation partner. You're not going to agree on everything. So when you're in a conversation with someone, you can definitely just agree to disagree. I want to let you know, and this is where we really start talking about emotional intelligence. Emotions will cloud your thinking as a business owner. And there are times where it heats up. And so what DPI is here to really help you, Renee and I were passionate about this. We want you to be able to remain decisive, to make stronger decisions. Emotions is what moves us away from accuracy. And when you're moved away from accuracy, you're not going to make the right decision for your organization or for what is happening in that moment. So I want you to really understand when your emotions are coming into play. Now, when you're going into conversations, Renee said, it's not about winning. It's about maybe just seeking mutual understanding, understanding more context, looking for the issues and the facts. I want you to know when you're in conversations, most people will not change their mind. They will. We're in 2023. People are not changing their mind. What you're after is for them to change their behavior. When you're having conversations as leaders, it's taken me years. You got to manage your emotions. You really don't give away your power. When you go off the handle, you give away your power as a leader. You want to be able to make the solid decision, not give away your power, but tune into your own emotion. And all this is happening in real time as you're having this difficult conversation. But I want you to think about, why am I feeling this right now? Like if you're just, you're almost becoming that passive aggressive. Think about, why am I feeling this right now? Why am I triggered? Why is this a stressor? De-escalate yourself inside and focus again on the ideas that the person is communicating, the feelings, not the actual person. And what I mean by that is, it's not that you're just going to ignore the person, but sometimes, they're just spewing out stuff. They're just venting. Really get underneath it and focus on, okay, what is the idea here? Take some deep breaths. Remain calm. And as things heat up, gosh, I remember being in a backstock room at a fossil in Jacksonville. I was terminating someone. Listen, it got hot. I remember texting my husband saying, listen, if I don't come home from this trip, let me tell you where I am. It got hot. I was threatened by this individual. You remain calm. You de-escalate your own emotions. And you know what? It's okay to take a break or even exit a conversation and just simply say, we're going to have to continue this another day. Now, make sure you come back and continue that conversation, because I remember when my son was trying to get his ears pierced and I was like, you know what? I don't have time to address this right now. And he finally came back to me and said, Mom, when are you ready to talk about it? So make sure that you do come back and have that conversation. Sometimes someone just needs to vent and they just need to speak their opinion and they don't need a solution from you. Okay. So make sure that you understand, okay, are they seeking a solution or maybe they are just venting? You ask the person, how do you think we can resolve this? Because a lot of people will spend a lot of energy and time just defining problem. How do you think we can resolve this? And this is where silence is that active tool. It allows for that other person to have self-reflection of something that they might not have even thought about, how we can resolve it. It gives them the opportunity to really think about what you just said. Also, do not overpromise. What do I mean by this? When you're dealing with the information hoarder, you want to be as transparent as possible. If your business is not going in the right direction, listen, say that. That person is a part of your team, honest and transparency as much as you are able to. I remember when I went through, I was in my corporate America and there was a pending reduction in force. We were getting ready to go through organizational, a reorg, and people just kept asking, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my job? I simply said, I don't know. But whatever it is, we're going to get through it together. Make sure that you do not overpromise, saying, oh, no, you're going to have your job. You're good. You're good. Listen, if things are going awry or they're going well, be honest and transparent. Remain as flexible as possible on the needs of the business. Look for signs of burnout, not only in your team, but also in yourself. Provide opportunities for skill development. And I think that's what Renee and I are offering with our digital course. You can be in the comfort of your own home and office, taking that course, but really learning some skills on how to manage people. Managing people is hard. I will validate that for you. It's probably 60 to 70% of what you do if you are a team leader. It is hard. But I want you to know employees want to be developed. So the online course is not just for the business leader, but also for the person that is on your team. Listen, we are here. We believe in you as leaders, but we really wanted to bring this to you this morning because as we talk and talk and talk over these past 18 months, this is just something that we could not keep silent. Like we wanted to provide you some tools. So we want to now open it up for question and answer in these last 8 minutes. Renee, we did it as we were going.
I know. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Don't forget the free resource. Hopefully, you've clicked that link, downloaded that because it does have scripts. If there's, conversations that need to be had in your organizations. It is time for Q&A. Are there any questions? I know we had some comments in the chat. Kim was sharing that it was enlightening. We don't want to change their minds, but their behaviors. And that was a very powerful statement.
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Seek first to understand absolutely what are the issues and facts that are being displayed there. Questions? Can you repost the link?
Oh,
Yeah.
Lisa.
I don't have a question so much as I do as a comment and a recognition of the work that you're doing here. As an HR consultant of 30 years, one of my vices, one of my passions really is making sure that we're equipping our managers and leaders with the skills of what do I say, right? Not just here's what you do and here's how you do it, but actually, how do I start that conversation? Yeah. So kudos to you with bringing it down to that that level, that minute level, because that's often where people struggle. Okay, yes, I know I need to have the conversation and I know I have to set up the room and make sure I've got tissues and all that. What do I say, right? So well done on your handout.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's because I've had to do it so many times. I've been in those tough conversations. Yeah.
I have a question, and I appreciate being a part of this. I know Renee from the community involvement she has and her insurance expertise. However, I did not know that you were also HR and human resource expert as well. So I'm really glad that I can call on you for that. So I am an entrepreneur who have definitely had a shift in her life to mostly full-time ministry. I work on two type of ministry teams, one in my church and one with homeless work. I would do a lot of community work. And what I'm finding is diversity of age. Like I'm 41 and I'm the oldest person on one of my staffs. And it's very hard for me to deal with sometimes these, like, I don't know, I guess it's like a non-focused conversation, kind of like, it's not rapport building, but it's, I don't know, it's just like I'm finding disconnect, and then I'm trying not to, you know, complain about it. I just try to like kind of be a fly on the wall and kind of just, but I don't know, it seems very difficult adjusting so much and not really finding my flow to be myself in these environments with the younger crowd on my team.
Now, are these group conversations that you're having?
Mostly, you know, like over the lunchtime period, or when we're not really focused on our mission and
Mhm.
just trying to like find ways to engage. I don't really feel like we have a lot of commonality, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's just making it difficult for me because I feel like I'm trying, and maybe not making that connection. So I can't tell sometimes if it's just that particular people, it's not all of them, but you know, particular people who I'm really trying to connect with, they just give me nothing, and I'm just sitting here feeling like I'm striving. Does that make
So,
sense?
yes, I absolutely understand. And when you're working with a multi-generational team, there can be all type of ways that you feel if you are the younger person leading someone who is older. I would say don't make assumptions. We talk a lot about this in our course. Don't make assumptions about why you think they feel this way. Have one-to-one conversations. There's always someone in a group who is an influencer. So whoever that influencer is, and if that person is the one that is kind of silent, I want you to have that one-to-one conversation and say, hey, I appreciate your voice. You are so instrumental. Thank you for being a part of this team, this group, this ministry. And then say, but sometimes I feel that however it is that you might feel, am I accurate in that, you know, like clear the air, just get that elephant right out of the room, address it head on, because most likely as business owners and as ministry leaders, that intuition, you need to follow it. You
Can
need to
I add
Okay.
something to that?
Keisha,
Keisha,
your
it's
phone is
hard to
like,
hear you.
yeah, it's breaking up a little bit. It's sounding a little spotty.
Can you hear me a little better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, okay.
No.
I was just going to say I had
Okay.
to roll. And what I did was a lot of out of the environment team building exercise, stress reliever, exercises like the axe throwing, team building exercises. And here locally they have release your stress, where you can go and punch things, break things as a stress reliever, and then come back together and then have the team share. And I was dealing with age groups from 21 to 56, and that sort of opened up, you know, they let their guard down, and they were able to share more things, and I was able to learn different things about them that I was able to come back and be able to coach to because of that connection.
That's great advice. Yes.
That's cool. That's pretty cool because they love experiences, and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's good. And it's like I always feel good when I see Lisa smiling, because she's like, yes, 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 Miss Jess. Hey, Jess, what's up? What's on your heart today?
Good morning. One thing that works for me when we onboard somebody, we ask them about all their faves. So like, hey, it's like a getting to know you onboarding form. What do you like? What's your Starbucks order? When you're stressed out, what do you need? And when that person that just rubs me the absolute wrong way starts to rub, I'm like, what? Let's go to their list. Let's send them some Starbucks to their house. Let's send them Starbucks. And just kind of, so when I do go to talk to them, maybe a day or two later, they're like, oh my gosh, I got your Starbucks in the mail. I'm like, oh, did you? And it's something that just is a very quick, easy tension breaker. I don't say anything. I'm not asking how your day, what's going on, what made you do it, yada, yada, yada. It's just to say, hey, I noticed you today. Whether they notice that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's just saying, hey, you're seen, you're valued, you're important.
Yes.
And because of this, whatever interaction, good, bad, indifferent, here's this token of we are just so glad to have you and all of you.
Yes. Jess is a powerful leader. Just tell them a little bit about what you do. The
Okay, well,
therapist in the room.
yeah, I'm a psychotherapist. I run a multi-state, a multi-ethnic, multicultural group practice. We bridge the gap in access for people of color to clinicians of color. And we also have an organizational wellness component where we come in and offer private label EAP. So the person that's coming out and doing your training is also who's responding to your crises. Oftentimes, EAP companies just send out like a rando when something happens, like, oh, you lost somebody to suicide, someone's mom has cancer. There's a therapist in the corner for 8 hours. Please go and talk to her. And so we try and really personalize that for our organizations. We also do